So then the meeting will officially be called to order. This regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is authorized in accordance with the Texas Government Codes, Sections 55.1.001 through 551.146. Um, Gerald Lopez will lead us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators, as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, the first item of business on the agenda is the public hearing, optional flexible school day for Chavez Excel Academy.
Yes, thank you, President Chumbley. Each year, we come to you with a waiver request for the optional flexible school day at Chavez Excel Academy. As you're aware, this is a successful program that we have here in Northside that serves students who are at least 17 years old and have 17 credits towards graduation. These students have also passed all their applicable exit tests, and so they are just needing to cross the finish line for graduation. So what this waiver allows the district to do is to count these students in attendance, although they'll be attending some unique hours that meets their schedule to being a student and also perhaps working. This public hearing is part of the process where we report on attendance rates, graduation rates, and also completion rates. So in your materials, you'll see that there was another successful year at Excel Academy. This year, we had approximately 334 students who were served, and out of that, there were with an attendance rate of 84.3%. So their attendance rate actually increased slightly from last year. Graduation rates, as you know, are published a year later, or a year behind, I guess you could say. And so we're roughly 77% graduation rate, which is very close to what we had the prior year. Again, these are typically non-traditional students, some who are already parents, so that actually is a high graduation rate. We're pleased to report in 17-18, just as in 16-17, that there was 100% course completion for all the students who participated in the program. So at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any trustees have any questions? Ms. Reed?
Just a question, not necessarily pertaining to that, but about the Chavez Academy. Will it still be located over on I-10 this year, or will it be moving back? When will it be moving back to Holmes?
Well, it will be relocated to Holmes. I think we were talking next summer, so hopefully in fall
One more
of
year.
19. But it will be back to Holmes when we're able to get it there.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Do any trustees have any other questions? This is just for discussion, it's not for action. Seeing no other questions, thank you, Dr.
welcome.
Jordan. Nope, sure can't. Okay, the next item in business is superintendent's report.
Yes, ma'am, Mrs. Chumley, and turn my mic on, and members of the board, excuse me. Just a few remarks tonight. It is July, after all, but we're certainly looking forward to all the back-to-school activities that will begin very soon. Before I get into that, though, I do want to thank the hundreds of staff who worked in our summer school programs all through this summer, both on the with our students directly, as well as on the adult and community education side. That is, as you all know, when you see that packet in March, it's many hundreds of pages of programming, and that takes a lot of person power in order to happen. So just wanted to thank those folks for working their work this summer in those programs. And as we wrap up our summer programming, we certainly turn to our back-to-school events, including welcoming new teachers in the first week of August, our annual leadership professional development, and of course, convocations right before school begins on the week that our teachers and most of our staff returns in August. I want to take a minute to thank the budget staff, the business and finance group, David and Wes and their group and of course the board for all of their work on our budget. While we're not quite ready to finalize, we're getting there. As you all know, we start that process with the board in February every year and conclude in August, and we will bring the usual set of meetings beginning next week, actually, that'll help us finalize our budget for 2018-19. And again, we're proud to recommend a budget that provides for a modest compensation increase, improves programming, adds staff for growth, and for the 8th year in a row now does not raise the tax rate in Northside School District. So with that, I'll conclude with video moment. So tonight's video moment highlights the Northside Threads Clothes Closet and shows how the community can help Northside families.
There's a new program in Northside hoping to make sure every student looks good and feels good when they head back to school this fall. It's called Northside Threads, for families, by families, and it's a new initiative in our family engagement program. What they've created is a clothes closet where Northside families can donate items to help other families in the district.
This is where the families are going to get to come in and shop and pick what they need.
Northside employees and volunteers are busy getting the Northside Threads clothes closet ready for business.
We have got really good donations that have come in here. We have good quality clothes.
They've spent the past several weeks sorting, washing, folding, and putting all of these clothes on display so families in the Northside district can begin shopping in late August.
We're going to make sure that they don't feel embarrassed in any way, but that they're going to feel comfortable to come here and be able to get clothes for their children to go to school. Because we want the kids to feel good going to school.
The clothes closet is for every campus to use. So no matter where you are or what your situation might be, if you have a need for clothes, we're the place to go to.
Everything in the closet is donated by Northside families for Northside families. Each child who comes in will be able to pick out 5 tops and 5 bottoms. The program also hopes to give each child new underwear and socks when they visit. And while this looks like plenty of clothes, looks can be deceiving.
We are a very large district, and I kind of use the example, if we have an 8-year-old boy come in that wears size 10 jeans, and 2 other families come in with an 8-year-old boy that wears size 10 jeans in a week. So that's, 15 pair of jeans just in a week for that one size. So those are going to go very quickly.
Which means Northside Threads needs more donations. They are in special need of boys' pants and jeans, and they always need new underwear and socks.
I really do believe that when you feel good and you feel confident and ready, you're ready to learn. And I want every single child and every single family in Northside to feel ready to learn. I want them to know that they're valuable and that we're investing in them so they can invest in themselves and continue learning and going to school and having their education.
Northside Threads is located at the site of the former Alternative Middle School South. This program is run by volunteers, so if you'd like to know more about how you can either help by volunteering or donating clothing, you can call this number, 210-397-8930.
So neat idea from our family engagement folks to help some families in need. we've received hundreds of pounds of donations just at this site alone that have been passed on to the clothes closet. We had an interesting conversation in cabinet the other day where there's obviously the need for continuous need for underwear and socks. So you all know that staff donate backpacks when they come back to our leadership staff development, and so now we're going to collect backpacks and underwear in the same time. I appreciated that conversation at cabinet, exactly. So hard to know what's more important there, right? But yeah, it's that's a really good thing, and staff and families, PTAs have really bought into that idea and really appreciated it. So thanks to that group for a great idea. And that, Ms. Chumlick, concludes superintendent's report.
All right, and where exactly is it located?
At what used to be the middle school south side on Blessing. That's where it's physically located.
I'm just trying to, that's off of Bandera Road, inside the loop? No?
East of Bandera, south of Callahan, inside the loop.
Yeah, it's inside. It's north of inside the loop, yeah, okay. It was a school originally. And it's back in that subdivision,
Right.
that neighborhood, right?
Yes.
On that. Great. All right, the next item of business on the agenda is board member reports. Do I have any trustees that have anything to report? Ms. Freeman?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chumley. First, I'd like to congratulate our trustee, Carol Harrell, who successfully finished Leadership TASB, her whole year of training, and I know you've done very well. The LTASB class this year will present at the TASA TASB conference, and I think you actually have to pre-register for that, so please be thinking about that, and we're anxious to hear. I know it's a huge time commitment, but certainly well worth it, and you meet people from across the state, and I know it's well worth the time, but congratulations. We had a TASB board meeting this past weekend, and I won't go into a lot of details, although I do want to put them on paper and pass them to you. We did talk about the TASA TASB conference coming up in Austin in, I guess it's the end of September. I don't have my dates down. End of September, beginning of October.
End of September.
Some things that are new and you do have to pre-register for, there's a couple field trips, one actually to a library in Round Rock, to exemplify a library of the future. There's also a documentary that's going to be shown, Backpack Full of Cash, which talks about the real cost of privatization of public education. Some new opportunities or additional opportunities in the exhibit hall to earn continuing education credits. And this year also, because of falling attendance in the delegate assembly, there's going to be some opportunities for districts that have delegates that are that attend the delegate assembly. One of them will be opportunity to earn credit on online learning center for each board member in that particular district. So I will write a lot of that down and pass that to you. Also, you may know that I'm on Member Services Committee, and Member Services is the committee that does interview for Superintendent of the Year, and of course with Dr. Woods as a candidate, I have been excused from that particular opportunity to do that. Interestingly, this year, 3 members of the Member Services Committee have superintendents that are in that candidate list, so that it's a committee of 9, and that quickly fell to 6. And then 1 board member wasn't elected, so that was 5. So there's actually an opportunity for the president to appoint 2 more people to that committee. And Dr. Woods, I know that you know this. There are 19 candidates that were selected from across the state. And there are some very good candidates in that particular pool, although we know that you're the best of the best. So we wish you good fortune in that interview.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. The one comment I would make to the board is I think I got the 8 o'clock Saturday time slot. So if you're handicapping, it's not looking good.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley.
Thank you. Dr. Harrell?
I would suggest you take a basket of breakfast tacos with you and do a little
Good
food
thought.
bribery.
That's a good thought.
Thank you very much, Karen, for recognizing that. And I'm hoping that a couple other board members who have not had the experience of doing Leadership TASB will really think about it. It is a time commitment, but there were priceless experiences, first of all, with fellow trustees throughout the state of Texas. And what we found, we were more alike than we were different. But we all care tremendously about our children. And that was at the forefront of every learning experience we had. We also had the opportunity of going to Tornillo ISD, where Tent City is right now, and just seeing how children live in the Colonias and also El Paso School District area, and how much public school educators care for their children, no matter where they are in the state of Texas. We also went to Galveston, Odessa, Midland, right before their bond did not pass, and experienced some dysfunction, but not more so in the community than in the school district. Again, public school educators everywhere are just overwhelmingly concerned about students' education. So that was a wonderful plus, in addition to just forming strong relationships with trustees who will be your friends for a long time. I think the highlight of July for me personally and my two grandchildren was when we went to the 8th annual Rising Star summer theater camp at John Jay. It was held at John Jay. It was the Music Man. And I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, grandson, granddaughter, who don't sit very much. And it was a real risk to go there. But Katie, you can attest to this. They did not move. They loved watching our students, and most of them were middle school. There were a couple John Jay kiddos. But in 3 weeks, it was the most magnificent play. And the mayor, who plays kind of a gruff role, as in the Music Man, came down afterwards and went up to them and said, I'm really a nice guy. I'm really a nice person. I think they felt the feedback from all of us who were in attendance, but just in 3 weeks, what our kids can do. I'm just for year-round school, and then, you do theater in the summer or something, but it was really, really neat, and hats off to staff and James' group that pulled that together, because it was so worthwhile. And then we played the soundtrack in the car, and so they know there's 76 trombones or 76 bombones or however they're pronouncing the words, but thanks staff for us to Dr. Woods, because that was just tremendous. And that's it.
All right, great, thank you. Mr. Blunt?
We had the steering committee for the Go Public met this week, and that includes Dr. Woods and myself. I thought I'd let you all know who the others are on there that are represented district-wise. Northeast, South San now has become a new member for the steering committee. Actually, Southwest has been there for a while. East Central, Alamo Heights, their new superintendent, as well as Floresville. So those are the ones that serve on the overall steering committee. So we basically sort of, and by the way, our executive director, I think, has been really doing an outstanding job. And I think all of us definitely take pride. So that was just sort of an opportunity to plan out the next year, talk about what's been done, what's been effective, how we can enhance communications within the community, the boards and the districts, et cetera, and really push more grassroots type efforts. So we'll be sharing that information, with the trustees. We're having a Bexar County School Board meeting on August 10th. So we'll share more of that, and I'm sure the superintendents also will be sharing upcoming on what the plans are and to get input also. I think the other thing I wanted to point out, the other thing is everybody to get a Go Public t-shirt that you can wear proudly. So we'll make sure we order that from you also. But we have a very great sponsor, and I've been trying to wait for a text to see if I can officially say. I can't yet, maybe before the meeting's over.
Tentatively.
I can say tentatively it's Whataburger, or I can't say that. Okay, I'll just pretend. Anyway, you got the message, but thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Ms. Reed?
Just to
sort of go back to what Karen was talking about, the summer meeting of TASB. The past presidents are always invited to attend that, so I was there and listened to the discussions of the Legislative and Resolutions Committee. So I saw the discussion about, most of our resolutions are all just fine and are being moved forward. But there is concern in the legislative area that we need to really get involved in what's coming up for the next legislative session. So, and do it soon, not wait until the last minute. So that's something to keep in mind as we move forward, I think. And also, I did like the Music Man. It was great. And your little grandson never sits still, and he was just, So it was fun to be there with you all. Thank you.
Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations to Carol, for your completion of the program, and I look forward to the presentation too. I registered early, so I'd like to hear that. So, also wanted to kind of talk about some of the summer programs. There was one program that came across, was the Joffrey Ballet. That was a partnership between Stevens High School, or the North Side, but they offer our kids classes in ballet, and they're technically trained by some of the great teachers in ballet, particularly from the Joffrey company. So that was a good program. They had their presentation on Sunday, and so I didn't have a chance to make it, but they did, from my understanding, was a great job. Our kids enjoyed the classes there, and then they got to see a top-notch presentation by the students there themselves that were taking classes. So that was one good program that happened, and that's been a partnership for a couple of years now already that Northside's kids have been able to participate in. So heads off to James Machoka and his fine arts program for working that partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Medina.
Just real quickly, I also wanted to recognize the programs that are going and activities going on and the staff's commitment to develop our students throughout the summer, including there was a lot of communication on Twitter regarding our students, our newcomers to our district, but from international countries, and there was just so many activities going on throughout the summer, and I wanted to thank the staff to keep us informed using that social media, and also all the other activities there. I have 3 boys, and so I'm up early, dropping them off, picking them up, doing all those responsibilities that others are doing in the community as parents. In addition, we've been seeing, our staff has done really well with communicating using Twitter and all the family activities that they've had. And they look rested and ready to come back and ready and revived to, help our students thrive. But again, thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple of things. I want to thank the board for their time and their attention last night at the board retreat. And I think that we're doing excellent on some of the things that we had talked about that we wanted to put into place. And so I wanted to thank you, because I know it was nice to have a couple of weeks where we didn't have a lot of meeting or responsibilities, but I appreciate everything that went into last night. I thought it was a really good meeting. And I want to thank Dr. Woods and Mr. Galindo. Recently, we had some questions come up in relation to student transportation, and I think that it was a really good example of how our administration works with our community and our parents to resolve questions or concerns that they had. So I wanted to thank both of you. Ray, thank you, because I knew you took point on that. Thank you for listening and finding some, common ground. I thought you came up with some really good solutions on that. So, and that ends the board reports. The next item of business is a consent agenda. Is there anyone that wants to bring a motion before the board? Ms. Freeman?
Ms. Chumley, I move approval.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. The next item of business on the agenda is citizens to be heard. However, the request was actually after we had called for it, so I need to make sure that I need the board's wishes. We have one individual that would like to speak to us. Are we all right on hearing that? Yes? All right. Then, Mr. Lopez, if you would call, wait just one moment, I need to read the rules. Okay, we believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we will listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. Please use the podium, address your remarks to the board, confine your remarks to an NISD policy or practice, limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, the board secretary will hold up the yellow card. At 3 minutes, it's Holgren, I believe. At 3 minutes, the board secretary will hold up the red card. We ask that you wrap up your remarks at that point. Please do not make personal attacks on individuals, and the audience should refrain from any type of applause or negative response. Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, Mrs. Hogan, Mr. Hogan? I'm sorry, Ms.
Mrs.
Hogan. that was-
Hi, my name is Lois Olguin.
Holguin, okay, I'm sorry.
And what I'd like to talk to you about is I'm a new parent. We've only been here in Northside ISD for a year. We were told this was the best school district for SPED. It helps that my family lives in the district and had had a good experience. I don't have a good experience with Northside, and I'd like to ask for more transparency, particularly because my student is a SPED student who is also a dyslexic student. I am also the founder and managing director of Discovering Dyslexia, which has 14 regional groups within the states, and I represent over 2,000 parents. And I do speak with TEA regularly, and I go to all the things. And what I noticed was I had to call TEA in order to get dyslexia services for my SPED student, and it was November 1st before I got those services. And not only that, but when I asked and told them, your services are not going to adequately provide for my son, I was told to that, basically. Much, much nicer, but basically. And then what happened is at the end of the year, I requested some assessments for my son, and he had lost 2 years of reading. Now understand, he's now a 12th grader, and he will be entering 12th grade at a 3rd grade reading level. I brought my son as a 5th grade reading level student, and he's now a 3rd grade reading level student. And here's the problem. When I attempted to call everybody in the district, all the way up to the superintendent, to say, who's going to talk to me? I need somebody to talk to me because this SPED department, of course, this year, is not prepared to deal with dyslexia. That's going to change because next year the laws are all going to require that they handle SPED, dyslexia in SPED. And when I talk to everyone, I'm sorry, we don't talk to parents. And that's the response I got from a wide array of district employees at the administrative level. So here's the problem. I'm a parent who requested that somebody help me find the right reading program for my son, and I was told, we don't speak to parents. So what I'm curious about is, this seems to be a Northside policy that nobody in his administration talks to parents, and I need somebody who will talk to me. I have a very great regional SPED person who is not dyslexia trained. My son was thrown out of 3 classes because this teacher said, we don't do accommodations. Who do I talk to? And so the question I've got is, one, it's a violation of IDEA, it's a violation of his IEP, it's a violation of the dyslexia handbook. And what I need to know is, who's going to help me solve my problems? I was told that nobody can require Mrs. Horace to train her teachers what the law is and how to provide accommodations in their class. Who can? So the question I've got is, when a parent has difficulties in Northside, who do they call if everybody in administration says, we don't talk to parents? So my regional coordinator cannot talk to the O'Connor school principal to ask her, how are they going to get help? And it is a law that requires that they be dyslexia trained, every teacher who touches my son. It's already in the handbook. It's not in the revisions. It exists since 1985. So I would just like an answer from the board about what are the rules regarding parents? Because one administrator talked to me, and unfortunately, he doesn't control
To finish it
high
up.
school principals and teachers. So I'd appreciate your help in figuring out how to have a great new year next year. Thank you.
What I would like to do is ask you to speak to Mr. Galindo. That's not the policy of Northside and not what I have experienced over 24 years as a trustee and also as a parent. So if you would speak to Mr. Galindo. Thank you. All right, next item of business on the agenda is the agreement between the Northside Booster Association and NISD. Mr. Rastellini. Oh, did I jump something? I sure did. I was just so anxious to speak to you. Dr. Jordan, the optional flexible school day for Chavez Excel Academy.
Yes, ma'am. This is simply the approval item. We are asking for permission to submit the annual application that will serve as a waiver so that we can continue the Chavez Excel Academy as we've done in the past.
All right, thank you. Do any trustees have any questions in relation to the program? All right, was this discussed at academics?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And Dr. Hall, you are the chair of the academics committee, so is there anything that you would like to add from that discussion?
No, we discussed it, and it was exactly how she presented it. We did talk about some of the data and what they were doing to perhaps, I'm trying to think of the word, but they're looking at the data to ensure that our kids are well taken care of, and they go to a 4-hour block between 8 and 4.
Eight
So
and
there's
5,
8 to
actually,
5,
yeah.
so they have flexibility of which 4 hours they would like to go, which allows them to go to work. So, no questions.
All right, thank you very much. All right, can I have a motion to come before the board, please?
A
Mr.
motion that we-
Lopez?
A motion that we approve I'm sorry, I lost it.
The optional
The
flexible
optional
school day?
flexible school day for Chavez Excel Academy.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the optional flexible school day for Chavez Excel Academy. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. The next item of business on the agenda is the schematic design for the Plaza Influence Northside Sports Gym. Mr. Sam Miguel.
Thank you, Ms.
Can I
Chumley.
ask a question just real quick? At the building committee, we had asked for all of the options to be in the superintendent's office prior to the board meeting. I just wanted to check
They were there.
that they were
Yeah.
on it.
Yes.
Okay, and then what about the Linda Mora
That was
reading?
there as well. The
Was-
redone, the
Right, it
redo.
was, but I just wanted to make sure that the updated design was
It was.
available for all trustees to see.
It was there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. There's been discussions about formalizing the Plaza of Influence, which is a plaza that is between the sports gym and Ferris Stadium. That plaza was a result of the construction for the sports gym, and it's been currently being used as a place where they put pavers right now for various individuals who have had a positive influence on Northside. That was absolutely done by the athletic department. So what we have for you today is a more formal presentation that will memorialize that particular plaza. And Mormon and Mock is here, Monty with Mormon and Mock is here to give us a presentation of the actual Plaza of Influence as being proposed for your consideration tonight.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight to present to you. What we are presenting, as Leroy said, is our ideas about monuments for the Plaza of Influence at the district sports gym. Next slide, please. What you see here is our understanding of what the preferred scheme is moving forward. It's a steel and perforated aluminum assembly of basically signage for the plaza. It reflects the signage that exists around the sports facility already on on all the banner signage that occurs at the front of this building as well as on the swim facility and the natatorium. Next slide. This is a little bit more plaza level view as you would approach the signage. The intent of the signage is to really just kind of call attention to the place, to attract some attention to what's going on there. The gym design itself, as you see in the kind of slightly yellow colored rectangles there, has concrete pavers in it that are available for sale to persons to memorialize someone of importance to the district who had some influence on the development of the children. So those names occur on the pavers below those monuments and across the plaza. And so these signs are there to call some attention to that. And then what you see, the rectangle in the center, at the lower portion of the pylon, is a cast bronze plaque that would have some description of what the intent of the plaza is and what its meaning is. So, this would benignly attract your attention to the plaza as you move into the area on your way to a sports event at the stadium or in this facility itself. Next slide, please. What you see here is artist rendition of what the signage look like at night. We're proposing electrically powered LED lighting behind the letters so that they highlight the letters to a large extent, but don't really yell at you from outside the plaza. Again, at night it draws attention to the element, but it doesn't command the area. It doesn't glare at you. So there are two of the signs, one at this end and one at the other end as well. Next slide, please. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. I just had a question of the board. When this was discussed in building committee, there were multiple options. And so, and at the building committee where it was kind of decided, where it was suggested what should be the recommendation to come to the board, we only had 2 trustees there. And so that's why I had wanted to make sure that everyone saw the different options. So this is the option that is being presented as the recommendation. So if a trustee wants to change that, then this is that opportunity. And so I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And then, Ms. Reed, as building committee chairman, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, well, yes, I guess. Originally, we looked at, I think it was concrete pillars that were going to be there, as well as some low-level ones. But in keeping with the theme of the entire center, with the metal blue, it just blended in much better. That was one of the options that we looked at. And then there were 2 of us to begin with, and the last time there were 3 others. So 5 people have seen some of this at least, and I certainly think it looks very, very nice, and it's significant looking, so that people will notice it. So I would move that we approve this design.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the schematic design for the Plaza of Influence. Do any trustees have any questions or any discussion? All right, having given that opportunity, I just would like to ask one. The only thing I'm concerned about is the wording on the Plaza of Influence, the wording that says Plaza of Influence during the day. I just think that that's going to be harder to read. I do. And does it go bottom up or top down?
Bottom up.
It's bottom up. I don't know,
Which
Lonnie,
would be at
I
eye
was just
level.
thinking,
Would be at eye level
would it
going
be
up.
easier to read? I don't know, I'm having and it could just be me, but I'm having a hard time being able to, at night, it's lit up, and so
eye
it
level
looks
going
like it
up.
would be easy to read, and at night, it looks like it, but it's just during the day. So I was just curious is that why? Is because we start Plaza at the bottom, or it shouldn't read from the top down?
That is, I mean, that's kind of a developmental thing for the design. We can orient it any direction. It won't affect the cost in any way. Part of what we'll do as we move forward with this is to, come to an agreement on what actually the verbiage needs to be on it, make sure that we have the right verbiage on it to satisfy everyone.
That is the verbiage that we're recommending.
Right.
Plaza of Influence. For the orientation, though, we can play with it. You can say plaza of influence going downward.
Would you, let me just ask, since we're going to vote on this tonight, and I feel you've got the support on that, would there be any delay in it if you just brought it back to the next building committee, just showing plaza of influence coming down? I would just like to see what it,
Yeah, there's,
and it may just be my old eyes, but I just am having a hard time. Dr. Harrell?
So, Melissa, are you thinking it goes like, instead of going this way, do P-L-A-Z? So,
No,
so
well,
it's not,
so it just goes.
not sideways, but could it, I'm wondering if it could, would help if it came down P-L-A-Z-A. And then my only other question is, because so many other events happen there, is it only Northside Athletics or should it be Northside ISD? Because we have all kinds of other events there, and
well, the actual plaza of influence is not specifically for athletics. It's for just anybody that has an influence. So that was just a reaction of, this is an
That's a good
athletic
point.
complex. That was the reason that appeared there. But we could also put Northside ISD.
instead of Northside Athletics.
Yes.
I know Stan would probably kick me under the table, but
No, but
I think it, just because it's becoming all-purpose, when we voted on that, we wanted it
That's
multi-purpose.
good point.
Okay. But I could see it one way or the other.
I was thinking just if this isn't going to delay it at all, could
No.
you just bring it back, just a different option, so we can just see if that makes any difference, if it's coming down this way? I
can do
just
that.
am just having a hard time with that.
I can do that in a couple hours. My bad.
Mr. Blunt?
That's probably too detailed. I may be wrong on it, but the one thing to look at is your shadow. So on page, page 1 or 2?
Two.
The plaza of influence, also, if you look at that, make sure if you do it the other way, what does the sun shadow do with that?
Right.
So that's the one thing to look at, because right now I can see it.
Yeah, the intent with that, we had some context images that we went out and got. One of the things about the banner at the front of the building is that faces the east,
Right.
sun comes to it. The letters actually project shadow
Right.
behind the panel.
Oh, no, I'm okay with that. I'm sorry. No, I meant how's the plaza influence going to flow if you reverse it?
If you
It
just
actually
change
reads
it.
correctly on the ground as a shadow effect.
Either way, if you do it
Yes,
the
sir.
other way too? Okay.
Doesn't matter which way it
Then-
goes.
Okay,
It will-
good.
it will
That's what I'm
read
trying
as
to make
it's
sure
standing
of.
on the
That's
front.
fine.
So we can bring this back with the change in the Northside Athletics to Northside ISD. And then we can also bring the reverse image of what you see in terms of the lettering orientation.
Okay.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
No, I'm sorry.
All right, so there's a motion before the board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries. Monty, it's going to be beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Neat.
All right, next item of business is the Northside Natatorium pool replacement. Mr. San Miguel.
Thank you, Ms. Chambly and board members. As you may know, the existing natatorium, we've had some issues over there at Ferris Complex. It's been leaking for quite a while. As a result of that, we proceeded with a lawsuit, which we were successful in obtaining money. So from that perspective, we're using that money effectively to be able to replace that pool, along with any 2014 bond, which also had money to do improvements on that facility as well. So from that perspective, we asked Next Gen Architects to look at the replacement, the replacement of the pool, and also Mr. Doug Whitaker who's our pool consultant, to also help us with the logistics of how to replace an existing pool that's leaking to improve it, so to speak. So today we have for you a presentation by Raul Yanes. We don't know where Joel is. I think he's missing in action.
Oh, that's not true. Where is he?
He's vacationing somewhere.
Somewhere
Yeah.
glorious, probably.
And Mr. Doug Whitaker is also here to support any questions you may have about the pool itself, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Hi,
much.
good evening.
Good evening.
Appreciate you all having us
Good
tonight.
evening.
What we'd like to go ahead and get started. Obviously, we're here for the Northside Natatorium pool replacement. Wanted to kind of start off and talking a little bit about your existing pool. What do you have in place now? This here is a section, sort of a profile of your existing pool. A couple of notable features on this. It is a stainless steel panel pool that has a PVC liner in basically a tub. This is a 25-yard wide by 50-meter in length pool. One of the interesting characteristics of this pool is that if you notice at the gutter level, it is 4 inches below the deck level. So we're going to be addressing that when we show the proposed pool design on this. The depth of this pool, as it stands now around the perimeter, is 7 feet from the bottom to the top of that gutter. Just a couple of images of the existing pool as it sits now. A couple of items to note here. You've got, kind of hard to tell here, we've got the existing fixed bleachers on the long ends of the pool, so on this back area here and toward this back area here as well. On the long side of the pool, there is an ability for them to provide portable bleachers should they need them on either side of that pool. So that's kind of an interesting sort of feature there as well. One of the items that we also kind of looked at, which actually works out pretty well once we kind of go into construction, is, okay, in terms of accessibility, how do we get into this pool for them to remove the existing panels and then obviously go back in with the new construction. On either side on the long end of the pool, there's operable doors. So those are easily opened. Easy access for the contractor to go in and remove the existing pool and obviously go back in with the new pool. Just a little bit of a close-up. We're talking about that gutter and how that's recessed. It's kind of sort of semi-recessed 4 inches below that pool deck. And Doug's going to go ahead and talk about the pool replacement proposed.
Thank you, Raul. And so when you see the new proposed pool, basically what we're doing is just replacing the existing pool in the same fashion that it was done before. It's a 50-meter long course, 25-yard short course lanes. We're going to be replacing the pool only as a cost-effective method, but with a much higher standard of quality. The other thing is we're leaving in place all the existing plumbing, filtration system, and circulation system for cost containment, but we also looked at it because it's in good shape. And so we really don't see any need for additional structural remediation. So we are going to replace this with a deck level gutter pool, much like you have at the Block Aquatic Center and at the Outdoor Swim Center. So the next slide kind of shows the proposed stainless steel pool with the PVC liner, but of a much higher quality level. And basically one of the things that, let me just see, the bottom one. Basically, we have this deck level gutter configuration. One of the nice things about that, just like the Block and the Swim Center have, that same kind of a design. If you noticed on those images that Raul was showing you, it has exposed stainless steel in the pool. And that exposed stainless steel is a higher maintenance item. Here, we're not having that kind of, we're having a nice PVC handhold, a PVC lining system, and a deck level gutter system, like we do on all high-end competition pools today. One of the things I want to, if you could back up, I want to make sure that I show you is that one of the things that was very important is looking at the athletic schedule and the school schedule, how we can get this put into production so that we don't disrupt any of the learning and the athletics that are going on there. So that was one of the primary reasons we're looking at this type of a pool as well. And that we also have a 15-year warranty on the interior finish and on the walls. The next image kind of shows the exact same kind of configuration that we have with the existing pool, 50 meters by 25 yards, and then the bottom configuration, all the wall panels will remain the same, but we do have a nice teaching area that the water depth will go from 4 foot to 4 foot 4 inches now because we're increasing that water level depth. The next image kind of shows, just like you have at the swim center, this nice deck level pool. Again, it's a PVC lined pool, stainless steel walls, and a deck level gutter configuration with a PVC grading system. And the next image kind of shows a close-up of that gutter. Now, one of the things that we're proposing is not going to a tile, which requires a little bit more maintenance. We're going to have a PVC handhold, which is a more easy to maintain, durable product. So to go through the schedule, I think Raul is going to talk about that.
Right. In terms of schedule, should we be approved tonight, we would move directly into construction documents. One of the things that we attempted to do here is sort of tighten up that schedule a little bit to try to get those documents out by the beginning part of November, so we can go ahead and get that bid. In our experience, in this type of construction, the cost typically will go up at the beginning part of the year. So one of the things that we certainly wanted to do is try to get these design and drawings out as quickly as we could, so we can get into that bid market and get a good cost for that. In December, we would come back to you for construction proposal approval, so we can kind of move forward and get that pool order at the beginning part of January. Speaking with the aquatics department, they feel comfortable releasing that pool to us really in March through the duration of July. So we can get that in. They've already made accommodations. That's actually one of their least busy times of the year. So we certainly want to capture that opportunity in that timeline. And at that point, we'd like to open up to any questions anybody may have.
Thank you. Ms. Harrell? Dr. Harrell?
No, just out of curiosity, how is it delivered? Like in sections so that
Yes.
it comes together like a pool? I mean, like a puzzle?
Right, so, yeah, so they're basically large stainless steel panels that basically come in sort of separate. They'll come in and assemble them on site.
And then they're all waterproofed, so that all the panels are waterproofed together, and the gutter sections.
Wow.
And so that does allow for that modular design so that it can be replaced without doing a lot of substantial demolition for the existing decks and walls.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
I'm sorry, did I hit that? I didn't.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Ms. Reed, would you like to,
Yeah.
oh, wait, you know what? I'm sorry, Katie. It's your button.
Thank you.
Ms. Reed, I apologize. Gerald.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I was going to ask.
Got a little name there.
Well, no, what is there now, is that also stainless steel?
That's correct.
And it's in sections?
Yes, correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're taking out sections and replacing sections.
Well, it's going to be a new system, so to speak, with a new manufacturer or another manufacturer, I
Yeah.
should say.
But it's
But
the
it's a
big
big
problem is the pool liner itself, right, which is much more,
It's
a much better
not
quality.
going into the details of what we've gone through litigation, stuff like that. It's just a faulty installation for
Right.
the gutters and systems and things of that nature. So and we're looking at that very carefully when we specify the next product, so to speak, or for the next pool, that we look at that extremely carefully and make assurances that we're not going to have this problem again.
Okay, when is the next pool coming along? Okay, I am glad that we're getting there, but to me, I can't quite understand why it takes 4 months under construction. Does it take that long to take it out and put it back in?
That's correct, yes. And connected, reconnected.
Okay,
And there's also the startup time from once you get all those panels in, get the new lighting system in, and there's a startup time that, testing and verifying that everything is working
Okay.
well.
okay, thank you. You want me to make a motion?
Yes, ma'am. Please do.
Is this, it is up for approval, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I would
Yes,
move that
schematic
we
design.
approve the schematic design for the natatorium.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the schematic design. Is there any further questions or any discussion? I have one. So when we did the original pool, there were like 2 pools in the U.S. that was that type of pool. And then we had a contractor that really didn't, I think there was a learning curve on how to install it. So what assurances can you give us now if we approve this design, which I appreciated at the building committee, you indicated that this design is used in multiple different temperatures, environments throughout the U.S. and internationally, I believe. But what assurance do we have, though, about having a contractor in South Texas that is going to know how to put this pool in? Because I don't want us back to where we were.
Agreed.
So what is that assurance?
Well, there's a multitude of different things that we can do. As part of our evaluation process is to ensure that whoever bids this project is qualified to install these kinds of pools. And we'll do research and make sure that when they provide us the bids, that we vet them very, very carefully. That they have experience, that they have certifications, that they have manufacturer certifications. And also there's another level, Ms. Chumley, that we are going to take to ensure that we don't have the problem is the oversight is going to be a lot more tighter. And also the specifications are going to be a little bit more tighter than usual to ensure that, you know, there is that support at all levels to ensure that we get a good quality installation from the pool. And of course, we'll have our warranties as well.
So part of our matrix is going to have requirements. So when we look at our matrix, what it says, previous similar experience, the jobs, and we look at how many, they are going to have to be specific to installing this type of pool,
That's correct.
this size of pool.
Right. We do this in roofing, very similar to that. We don't want to hear that you do a single ply, you do a multiple ply. And we said, we want experience in that arena, not that other stuff. So from that perspective, they may be good at putting concrete pools, but we're looking for a stainless steel, you know, liner pool. And hopefully we'll get, obviously, people that know that business. And they are, I mean.
We will get people of that caliber that have done many of these types of pools compared to the last time we had a person that only had installed, this was their first one.
There were very few that he had installed or this manufacturer installed.
And you've been a consultant on projects and have overseen working with architects to install this kind of pool.
Yes, we've done over 200 of these kinds of pools each, over the past 10 years.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I just
That's great.
really
That's
wanted the
great.
reassurances because this was caused issues, and now we're taking 4 months away from our kids too. So, all right.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, motions on, before the board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. All right, next item of business is the schematic design for Rancho del Lago Elementary.
So tonight we have the last of the 2014 bond, elementary schools. It's almost like we just passed that bond program that long ago, and here we are with the last one. In terms of the elementary school, so Roy Lewis of Garza Baumberger is going to do the presentation for Rancho del Lago Elementary School for your consideration.
Thank you, Leroy. Ms. Chumley, Dr. Woods, members of the board, thank you for having us here tonight. As Leroy mentioned, we're here for the schematic design presentation for the Rancho del Lago Elementary School. The site of the school is located at in the Arcadia Ridge subdivision, which is bounded by Potranco Road over here. Off to the east, you have 1604, and Highway 90 is off to the south. The site plan, what we're looking at is our main entry for the parent drop-off, visitor and staff parking is in the front of the building off of Arcadia Path along here. Incidentally, this is a prototype of the Bonnie Ellison Elementary and Callison Elementary schools. We have situated the, that's all right. Can you go back one? I'm sorry. We situated where the main entry to the school is in front, and the bus service is off to the side with staff parking and the food service area to the back side. As I mentioned, this is a prototype design with a little bit of tweaking. In it, we moved the BMC from the admin area over to the kinder corridor, and we moved one of the small classrooms up to the second floor. Other than that, the plan stayed pretty much the same as at Callison, with the shared space in the gymnasium and the cafeteria area. We did add a family assisted toilet room off of the commons area off the cafeteria as one of the changes to the prototype. Oh, yes, and one of the other tweaks was that we developed the library, so we have a high bay ceiling all the way across it, which is going to be a much nicer space than what we had before. The The second floor stays the same. We have 3 grade level sets of classrooms up there for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade class. We have the large classroom for sciences. One of the relocated small classrooms are now upstairs as well. The rest of it remains the same. Looking at the elevations, we're proposing a different look to the facade with the use of bricks. We're going to change up the canopies so that it's going to have a unique look to it compared to the other prototype schools. One thing we're looking at is, okay, if you'll go ahead. No, go forward, please. Is the use of perforated panels around the canopy area to give it a lighter, airier feeling, where we have the opportunity to introduce colors to those perforated panels. And this is just an elevation of the front entry area. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Do any trustees have any questions? Ms. Reed, would you like to make any comments in relation to the building committee discussion?
Since I was not at
Oh,
the
I'm
last
sorry.
meeting,
I'm sorry, Ms. Freeman.
My first look.
Would you like to? I'm trying to remember who else was at the. Karen
I was there.
Karen was. Karen, would you like, or Gerald, would either
I
one
was
of you
there.
like to make
I'll let Karen go first.
a comment in relation to that?
No, the building committee looked at it and thought it was a great design. I was just thinking of one. I just had one question. I was at, I think it was Scobie, not too very long ago, and I know some of our schools have some challenges with bird nests in these types of. I don't know if there's anything you can do with design. There is.
There are certain things we can do in design, and when we get into the construction documents, we're gonna be looking at those, we call them the roosting places for pigeons and things of that nature. So anytime you have vertical or horizontal ledges, there's always a propensity for those types of things. So one of the things we'll be looking at as we get more into detail is ways to be able to do maybe some changes. Maybe the perforation goes all the way through instead of having a little edge there, things of that nature.
I just know that when I looked up, there was some temporary things that were, that just to keep the birds away, but they weren't necessarily very attractive.
Right, sometimes there's little spikes, and we've tried about we put an owl in there, they ignore the owls. Put sticky stuff in there and it makes a mess on the sidewalk, so we try just about everything. But the best course of action is, in that perforation panel, maybe 2 panels that go all the way around so that there's no ledges there as well. So this is just conceptual, and when we get into the details, we'll start looking at that. As a matter of fact, they know my rule that no horizontal ledges, or they'll be cleaning bird poop for a while.
Thank you.
I think we've gotten a new job for our architects.
We may have had a new low in schematic presentation.
Dr. Harrell.
I don't know, this may be another low. What is a family-assisted bathroom? Oh, family-assisted,
Well,
Yeah.
it's actually a family room. One of the commentaries that we've gotten from the newer schools for about 6 or 7 years is that there's not a place that you can take a child in
I
and
gotcha.
change them and things of that nature in our
Okay.
functions, especially when we have functions. So about 2-3 years ago, we decided that it would probably be wise for us to provide one bathroom close to the core areas. I'm talking about cafeterias and things like that, because that's when they have those functions. Kids are, going in and parents are having to take, especially if you have a male, a child with a female or vice versa. So we felt that was something, it's not regulated by any code that we know about.
it was just a nice.
Only on the more commercial, but on the public, so to speak, i.e. schools, there's no rule, but we felt it was compelled that we needed to do something to assist.
Okay, and then one other question.
That has a changing table as well.
Oh, good. So, in light of all the safety, school safety discussions, what are some safety features in this design that we could share or tout?
So there's 2 or 3 things that we've done in elementary schools, even going back to security lobbies, Bonnie Ellison, which is one of the original prototypes, is the first to have the security lobby. So from that perspective, every elementary school since then has a security lobby actually designed into it, and Roy helped us with that feature. The other thing is we strategically put perimeter fencing to ensure that, people can't get in and around the facility, because we know you secure the front, but maybe wide open in the back, so to speak. So that's another level. The third level is access control, especially if you have to go outside. Our teachers now have badges that have access control, that they can go in and out for playgrounds and things of that nature, as opposed to keep a door unlocked. So that's a third level of security we have. And then just being vigilant. I mean, that's the other thing, is having everybody know what if there's somebody in the building that doesn't belong there, to say something about it, so to speak. So that's more on the behavioral side than it is on the facility side. And then we have cameras, like we do in all elementary schools. They all shoot out to parking lots, and they do internally in various strategic places within the facility as well. So that's kind of our fourth level of security.
Thank you.
And we have, of course, the roving police officer that we have as well, that shares the various campuses at the elementary schools.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lopez?
Yes, I was going to go ahead and make the motion for the approval of the schematic design for Rancho del Lago Elementary School as presented by Garza and Baumberger.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the schematic design for the Rancho del Lago Area Elementary School. I just had one question. I really appreciate, Roy, that you have that family assist restroom there, but mine's for a different reason. Our bus drivers have said that they would appreciate if there would be some consideration for them on our elementary designs for when they pull up. If they need to use the restroom, they don't have to run all the way. And so this fits that. I just have a question on the door. If y'all could pull that up on the design. So there's the bus drop-off, and then there's the hallway, because you've got the two doors. So are those doors won't be locked at that time when they're dropping off kids?
Right, as the kids are being dropped off, they'll come through here. There is a gate here at the ornamental fencing. So there's an ornamental thing, sorry, it disappears on the screen. There's an ornamental security gate going all the way around that amphitheater area and that commons area that comes out from the cafeteria. Those gates are opened up in the morning for kids. When they're let off on the buses, they'll come inside those doors. They can be opened at that time.
Okay, because I just wanted to make sure that after including that, and I think our bus drivers will be very pleased to have that we then haven't locked them out of being able to have access to that.
See, like Roy says, during the course of letting school out and bringing the kids in, so to speak, those doors are pretty much open.
And that's
then
where you
there's
have, and you
security.
have an administrator, I'm sure, there at that entrance,
Yes, there's usually one out
a
there.
staff member.
Sometimes there are teachers there waiting for the kids to come to unload as well, so.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Is there any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item of business is the building replacement GMP for Rayburn Middle School.
Yes, the Turner Construction was awarded the construction manager at risk on November 14, 2017 for the building replacement project at Rayburn Middle School. This project consists of several phases and subsequent bids given the complexity and the scope of the project. This request is for the amendment number 2 for a not to exceed sum of $2,464,942,000 for the necessary work associated with the building foundation and building envelope. And all that basically is kind of the superstructure. We had to break that down in pieces because we wanted to make sure that we continue the schedule, especially when there are impacts to steel as a result of tariffs and other things. So we wanted to get that out there to the contractors, subcontractors to bid this project. There will be one more amendment that will be coming here shortly in about a month or two, which is the remainder of the building. But we wanted to break these in pieces so we can get the contractor keep going, or keep him on schedule, so to speak.
And our contractor is?
Turner Construction.
Turner, right?
Correct.
And they're not here tonight.
They're working. It should be working right now.
And I think they should be here tonight.
The face of Rayburn is changing again. Buildings are actually coming down now.
Mr. Lopez, did you have any comments that you would like to make from the building committee in relation to the Rayburn discussion?
You know, I know we did talk about this, and I was, you know, I think we were talking about the, well, I know I had some questions, but I mean, it was pretty much, I mean, it was pretty explanational. I mean, it was solid on a lot of the things. I know they were talking about, you know, modifying some of the fine arts. Am I correct on that? So that was included on that. But I mean, overall, it was all done pretty well. I mean, I approved. I mean, I think it's a good recommendation. So I'm going to make a recommendation that Turner Construction Inc. be awarded the construction manager at risk contract.
That's actually the amendment number 2.
I'm sorry.
Amendment number 2.
Number 2,
building
to their
replacement.
GMP already.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't have that open then. Let me open that up. So do I just go ahead and say amendment number 2 as
correct.
recommended by building?
Right.
So recommend that we make the, it's not coming up. So
Move approval.
recommend that we make the, sorry,
You're good.
I couldn't see it on there. So move that we approve the GMP replacement, am I correct? Rayburn?
Right.
Yes.
The award of amendment number 2.
That'll work.
That award, okay.
All
Sorry.
right.
I'm lost on
No,
that.
no, you're good. I've done that before.
Okay,
Is
yes.
there a second come for the board? It's been moved and seconded that we approve amendment number 2, the building replacement GMP for Rayburn Middle School. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez had asked if he could have some of his board comments during this agenda item, and so I'm going to give him just a moment for that.
On this item?
Right, no, remember you had asked
Oh,
if
yeah.
you could make a comment in relation to, there was a piece of his board report from the very beginning of the meeting that he had wanted to save to this section, and so I was
Right.
going to give you a minute if you just wanted to
Yeah, no, I just wanted to
make a
highlight-
comment about that.
I just wanted to highlight what was presented and thank Leroy for your presentation on the energy program. What we were looking at and what we had talked about was, you know, what are we doing as a district and construction-wise as far as energy? And Leroy did a good job of presenting what we were doing. We talked about the overall program and how we're updating the program. So I wanted to just say thank you for doing that. Looking forward to doing that more often and just kind of, you know, keeping up with the program. So I know it took you a lot of time and effort in doing that, but I wanted to tell you I appreciated that effort, and I look forward to more information about that coming up pretty soon. So, but thank you.
All right.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome, thank you. All right, the next item of business, now, Mr. Rastolini, we get to hear from you. The agreement between the Northside Booster Association and Northside ISD.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. The administration has completed its annual review with for the contract with the Northside Boosters Association. It is now ready for the board to consider approval. This is the time of year we typically bring this agreement to the board. Good news is there are no changes to the contract itself or the agreement itself, and that is the second attachment in your agenda item. So that language remains consistent. About the only thing that changes from year to year is just the term of the contract. The highlight of the contract, however, is the concession prices, and that is the first attachment. Again, good news there. We only see a couple items that have changed for the 2018-19 year. We're recommending increase in candy prices from $1.50 to $2. And then Chick-fil-A has also offered a new product for a Chick-fil-A breakfast biscuit, and that'll be sold at $3. This item was presented to the Finance Committee on June 19th and discussed, and any issues around a new contract. We have a new vendor contract. We did check into those, make sure it was appropriately procured with the district, and we're comfortable in that recommendation as well. With that, we do recommend approval of this agreement.
Mr. Lopez, as Finance Committee Chair, is there anything that you would like to share?
Yes, I'm ready for this one this time. I know where I have to see it. Yes, we did talk about this in our meeting, in our last meeting, and there was some good dialogue centered around that. And I was surprised that we added the Chick-fil-A breakfast. I said, man, that's going to be good. I know where to go for breakfast now. So. But no, it was a good agreement, and I do make a recommendation for approval of the agreement between Northside Booster Association and Northside Independent School District.
All right, thank you. Do any trustees have any questions? Do any trustees have any questions? All right, then I just have one. Could you explain? It says Kona Ice, a food truck selling this product, will be available at all large stadium events with a portion of sales going to the NBA. Who came up with that agreement? Why them? And how did that happen?
Again, that was a recommendation that came through to add a vendor outside the facilities. This is a snow cone.
And who did it come from, and why them?
That it came from NBA, and we actually did the procurement on the NBA's behalf.
The National Best. What's NBA?
Northside Boosters.
Northside Booster. I'm going
sorry.
NBA. I was going like, David, why are we giving our money away to someone? I'm like,
To
is
those
this the
millionaires,
NBA
yeah.
or why are we doing this? Who talked to Stan? Okay, so, but then how did we pick Kona Ice? And the reason I'm asking is because there are so many food trucks, and do we have to go through an RFP to get that individual? I have real questions about that, because there are hundreds of food trucks that would have bid on this, and who owns it and how are they affiliated? I just want to make sure that we don't have an issue after we've done this where someone comes back and says, hey, wait a minute, I have, an ice truck that I would have gladly done, and I would have cut you a better percentage.
Right.
So David, how did we do this?
Sure. Again, this procurement, albeit it comes from the Northside Boosters Association, AKA the NBA. Per our agreement, any of those procurement of those kinds of vendors that supply any food for that matter have to go through our purchasing department. If a contract will reach a certain threshold, that will drive if it has to be bid out versus via an RFP process or something of official level. This contract doesn't come to that level. So typically what we will do is take the vendor and go through standard language and agreement with the district, because we need to control not only access to district, but also to control the facilities and what they can do on the facilities and such. So I don't know if this will drive a situation where next year we'll need to put out an RFP simply because the number of interested parties. But certainly that may happen down the road.
I guarantee we're going to get a question after the first football game from someone else who has a truck saying, how did we decide? Who got it? So what is the threshold on this? What are we talking about from a dollar perspective?
It's $50,000. This contract is actually the commission that comes back to the boosters, if you will, is 20% of the sales is how that's structured. And the question came up, how do we determine the sales? it's done by cup count, so we have to put in mechanisms in that agreement that it give us the capability to check those numbers and what have you.
I am really uncomfortable with that. I'm really uncomfortable with that, guys, on it. We're going to do an 80-20 split on a captured audience full of kids at our Northside Stadium, and we're not even going to go out and ask for bids or other I don't know. I'm unsettled by that. Ms. Freeman?
So I have looked at that before, and we spoke about it at Finance Committee. I guess, we have Chick-fil-A that we do business with, and I cannot remember who supplies our pizza, but that's one vendor as well. Quite honestly, I don't even know how those people are determined or selected. I assume by our boosters as well, but those fit in the sort of the same type of category, in my opinion.
I hadn't thought about that. Karen, that's a good point. I just would have felt comfortable if it wasn't that high a limit that we're talking about. All right. Are there any other questions or concerns? All right. I believe I have a motion before the board to approve.
Do we have a second? I didn't hear
No,
a second.
Is there a motion? Who made the motion?
I did.
Gerald. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. That we approve the Northside Booster Association, Northside ISD agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Next item of business is the agreement for the purchase of attendance credits. Mr. Rastellini.
Thank you, Ms. Chumley. The second item that we have in our section this evening is become somewhat of a routine issue for us as it relates to adopting the district's tax rate and budget each year. As you're well aware, the district has passed the threshold of becoming what is commonly referred to as a Chapter 41 district. What that refers to is property value per WADA. Once it exceeds a certain level, those districts are notified from TEA, and we've received our official notification this month, as a matter of fact, that indeed we're at Chapter 41 status in 2018-19. Part of the process for the district, once you are designated as a Chapter 41, is to elect one of 5 options to buy down the wealth of the district. We have chosen for the last 2 years to use option number 3, which is to purchase attendant credits from the state. Now, keep in mind that we are not subject to recapture. We're quite a ways from the second level threshold, which is a recapture threshold, and again, we're a good ways from that. However, the law or the rules require that we still make this election just in case we do become subject to a recapture, which is a possibility in districts such as ours, profiled such as ours, if in fact we have a tax rate that exceeds $1.04. We don't anticipate recapture, didn't the last 2 years. So this agreement has to be approved by the board and then submitted to the agency for execution by September 1. And with that, I'd be happy to answer some detailed questions on that if you so desire. And we do recommend approval of this purchase agreement.
Yeah, just going to go ahead and make a recommendation for approval as David has presented by David in Finance.
All right, so there's motion for the board to approve the purchase of attendance credit. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the purchase of attendance credits. Are there any questions by any trustees? I'm just not really understanding this. David, could you tell me why number 3 is the best. I mean, I know 2 of them we wouldn't consider, but
Right.
why is that the best one?
It's not necessarily
The least harmful?
the best. What we've seen over the years, most districts that are property wealthy that are subject to recapture, initially what they would do is contract with other districts or other cooperatives to purchase attendance credits directly, and there was a financial benefit for both parties. However, since Chapter 41 and the recaptures evolved to where it is today, to execute those kinds of agreements is very difficult to do. If in fact you do it, you actually have to do multiple contracts in order to do that. So for that reason, most districts now just send the money to the state. It's probably the least intrusive piece of recapture as far as the mechanisms of buying down those credits. The other one, there's a few of them that do require elections. We haven't brought an election forward to our constituency, but if in fact we would consider those somewhere down the road, and I can't remember of the particular ones which are subject to an election, but we would certainly have to plan for that. To the point of detaching our property, and there's some things that we just would not consider. It's probably more as a matter of statute that the state can force an issue if they need to.
The only thing I would add to that is that what most districts have done is try to avoid adding insult to injury. You're already writing a big check back to the state. Some of these options are very challenging to manage and require a lot of staff time, and so they're picking the option that requires the least staff time, frankly.
Okay. All right. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman.
All right, next item of business is Human Resources. It's health insurance time.
It is. Ms. Chumley and members of the board, as you know, we frequently in the month of July bring the recommendation for our health insurance plan for the following calendar year. Health insurance runs on a calendar year basis, so we're talking about the 2019 calendar year in this recommendation. The first slide that we'll show goes back a little bit in time with our history with United Healthcare. We've been with United Healthcare since 2016, and you can see how the plans have evolved over that period of time, what our participation has been, and also what our premiums have been over that period of time. You see the 2018 premium is projected because we're obviously not through the 2018 calendar year yet, and so that's an estimate only. On the next slide, we wanted to give the board just a quick recap of what we actually offer. 6 plans with United to our employees, and so we just wanted to give a kind of a quick recap of what are those plans, what's the breadth of those plans. And they run essentially from the most rich plan on the left to the least on the right. You can see the plans on the right are high deductible plans. The plans on the left half, I guess, the first 3, if you're reading left to right, are not. You can see that there's a wide variety of plans. Some do not require the employee or family member to go to a primary care physician before they would go to a specialist. Others do require that. You can see differences in deductibles and also differences in maximum out-of-pockets on each of those plans. Part of our philosophy in designing the plans with United over the last 3 years has been to try to provide some breadth, some choice to employees so that they could consider their own personal and or family situation and then decide which plan was most appropriate for them. So that's just a recap of the plans as they're designed today. In the next slide, you see the performance of those plans going back to 2016. And while we've made some changes in the plans, you can get a sense if you read from the bottom up how each of them has performed over time. You see in the PPO 2000 Choice plan, which, as I mentioned, is the most rich plan, has the most rich benefits for staff, that we've got a loss ratio above 100%, which essentially means that we're paying claims in excess of what the plan is collecting in premiums. And you can see that that's been consistent going back to 2016. And then you see the other plans have a tendency to perform much better, and that they consistently perform much better over time. On the next slide, we give you a sense of each year we've done a survey of our employees about benefits. Most of that survey has to do with health insurance. Not all of it does, but a good bit of it has to do with health insurance, because it's obviously a big cost to the district and a big cost to our employees as individuals. So we gave you a sense of what the survey results look like with regard to health insurance. We got a clear indication that employees felt like they needed better education with regard to the plans, better education, better knowledge, so that they could make decisions better. And so that's on our radar going into open enrollment in the fall. You can see ones that tend to happen year over year, and that is that a large number cited cost as a key driver in making their decision, and that obviously that's true for most of us. And then in the next one, you see a very large number of respondents saying that they really appreciate the security of a predictable copayment, predictable payments when they go to visit a physician. And right at half agreed that the money deducted from their check for the plan they thought was a fair or good value. And then overall, responders were satisfied or somewhat satisfied with the plan that they had chosen, as well as United Healthcare generally. In the next slide, we go into the recommendation itself, and that is to enter into an agreement with United Healthcare for the 2019 school year at an overall increase in premium over what we're paying now of 6.44%. And I'll walk through a little bit of how we got to the 6.44%. We would propose that we continue to offer all of the plans that you saw in those earlier slides, all 6 of those options. That allows for 2 plans providing coverage in and out of network for folks for whom that is important. 1 plan that provides primary care visit without cost, and then 3 plans that offer the health savings account, the high deductible plans that offer the health savings account. One of the ways we negotiated down to 6.44% was we looked at the out-of-pocket maximums on each of the plans. Less than 2% of our employees year over year ever reached the out-of-pocket maximums, and we thought that was a place that we could do some work and save employees in general some money. So you can see some increases in out-of-pocket maximum exposure on each of those plans. And then in that last line, while the district intends to continue to pay 70% of the aggregate cost, the total cost of the health plan, we did go in and look at that PPO 2000 Choice. That's the one that we showed that had a loss ratio well above 100% going back in time. And we'll ask employees to contribute a little more if they continue to choose that 2000 Choice plan. And then the last slide in this presentation just gives a sense of open enrollment, when it is, what we intend to do during that period of time. It is very frequently in this period of time. And again, these are folks who are making decisions in October for a plan that will begin in January of 2019. And with that, we would recommend approval and be happy to answer questions. I have experts in the room.
Ms. Reed?
Yeah, I just had a question about those teachers who are new to our district this fall, they would be signing on to the plans as they exist already, is that correct?
Actually, they would enroll twice as a new employee, and then they
Then
enroll
later
for the
in
next
October, they would re-enroll.
Yeah, it's kind of a nuisance, but at least they know what they're doing in October.
Well, at least they have insurance until then. I
Yes.
was trying to make sure that they were covered.
Oh, yeah.
And until the October date, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes, thank you. We did discuss this in Finance Committee, and I'm just not normally used to seeing this under Human Resources. But yes, we did discuss this under Finance Committee, and I'm going to recommend that we approve it as presented by Dr. Woods.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the health insurance for 2019. Are there any trustees that have any questions or comments? I just wanted to ask, so you're saying it's a 6.44% increase except for the PPO 2000. So what is the percentage increase for the PPO 2000?
I'll ask an expert to help me with the second part of that question. The
Would
first
you-
part of that question is, the answer is that that's in aggregate. That's the total. If you look at the total cost of the health plan, the renewal is for an increase in that total cost at 6.44%. And then I'll ask Tim to give us a sense of, if I continue to choose the PPO 2000, what would be my, say, as an individual employee, what would be my increase? So Tim, can you do that?
And what percentage of our employees do the PPO 2000?
Hi, Ms. Chumley, Tim Kelly with Wortham Insurance.
Hi.
The percentage of the employees that choose the PPO 2000 is about 22%. So of the employees that participate on the health insurance plan. So they're looking at roughly percentage-wise, it's probably about 30% for the employee increase. So they want to continue with that plan, to pay additional dollars to buy the.
30%?
That's on their contributions, that's right. Just if they want that richer plan that's performing poorly, they would have to pay additional premiums if they want to buy up to that option. But they have 6 other choices, or 5 other choices out there.
And what is the plan that the largest percent of our employees pick?
It is plan number 3, which is their HMO 2000. About 33% of the employees choose that plan. The first 3 plans, the 3 copay plans, probably 85% of the employees participate on those 3 plans, but the highest, they're pretty close.
What would be the employees' percentage increase on that?
The employee percentage increase on the highest participating plan, which would be the Nexus HMO 2000, it's looking at about 12% increase, and the primary advantage is about a 9% increase.
Okay. I'm going to ask, and I understand absolutely what you meant when it's a 6.44% aggregate increase, but that, to me, is not truly representing what we're going to be asking our employees to pay in addition for their insurance. If I'm on the 2000, the PPO 2000, and the board sends out in board talk tomorrow that we have a 6.44% increase in our health care, yet when I look at mine, I have a 30% increase. I don't think that that's realistically representing what our increase is for our employees, because you have a 30%, a 12%, and a 9% for the top 3 plans that have the largest percentage of our employees in it. So just for next year, I would appreciate if that's a little bit more representative of exactly what percent of our employees are going to have what percent of an increase, and then we can say our aggregate increase is 6.44%, but to me that's not representing. If I'm the one paying that premium and I'm thinking, gosh, that was a great deal at 6.4%, and then I go up paying 30% out of my paycheck, I think that that's not really representative then of what we have negotiated on this. I know that healthcare is just a continual battle. I do want to ask, which I have asked every year for I don't know how many years, 10 years? Have we had the discussion and looked out the box of how to fund our employee health care. I work for corporate America, and I'm given X amount of money in a card every year that is used to pay towards my deductible. Texas Med Clinic funds their own health care through pre-negotiated contracts with the hospitals and doctors in San Antonio. They looked and found what each procedure cost, and they negotiate their own contract with the hospital system and with physicians.
Right.
Are we doing anything outside of looking at the plans we have, who else is going to bid? I mean, are we looking at anything outside the scope of the traditional path for health insurance?
Yes,
We've actually done an analysis of self-funding each year going back, I don't know, Tim, 3 years, 4 years, something along those lines.
past 3 years.
And looked at and done a cost-benefit analysis of self-funding as we've gone along to try to analyze, is that in our financial best interest to consider? And so far, the numbers just don't bear it out. As we've looked at it literally annually, going back at least 3 years.
Thank you. If y'all had just said to the board, you know, this is what's been best, but we looked at these other options, I wouldn't have asked you that question. So
We
thank you
we look at them
for,
every year.
thank you for looking at some other options of funding our health insurance. I think what Texas Med Clinic does is really amazing, and he has extremely low costs for his employees. And I still think as many employees as we have, that we should be able to do something like that as well. But I know that that's would take a couple of years in the planning, I'm sure. Thank you for your efforts for our employees.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Yes, thank you. I did want to make mention, now that you had brought that up, we did talk about that, and that was one of the discussions that we talked about in the Finance Committee, was having that, when would it look right, or when would it be appropriate or financially when would we be financially capable to self-fund? And so that was one of the presentations that was given in Finance, and they did do a good job on that. I want to thank you for doing that, and we are continuing to monitor that. That was one of the questions that they said that they would look at every year. So,
Great.
you know, Brian is doing that, and David as well, so.
Thank you. Ms. Freeman?
Yeah, just a comment. It seems like in past years, I know that when we start looking at the cost ratio, what's that ratio called? Thank you, the loss ratio. I know that there have been times when we've actually eliminated plans because that ratio has been so high. So I know that when you say 30%, it's a lot, but for the people that want it, we could eliminate it. And because when it's high, it means that the district is paying a larger portion of that particular benefit for that particular employee, and as opposed to what they're paying for the other. We said there's 20%. I don't know, I can't remember how many, but then the other 80% we're paying. It just creates some inequities if we don't do something with how much the premiums cost. But thank you. I appreciate I appreciate the option that we're giving our employees, the option to continue if they want to, and if they don't want to pay the premium, then they just need to perhaps go to another premium. It's tough. Health insurance costs have gone up. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McGee, can you remind me, do we have a motion before the board on this? All right, and a second. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. The next item of business on the agenda is closed session. Future agenda. I'm trying to get us out of here. Dr. Woods.
I appreciate you.
Good job.
That's what it is, Dr. Woods. I'm just pushing you
So
along.
in
there.
your blue folder, Ms. Chumley, in keeping with the theme of moving us along, we do have a convocation attendance sheet if you could mark which ones you are available to attend and get that to Ms. McGee, then Ms. Chumley can decide about giving folks ask about doing remarks at convocation. You've also got registration and travel form for Tassa Tasby in your packet as well. And again, Ms. McGee needs that. And then you've got an invitation on the back-to-school picnic with a big group of our staff, which is actually next Monday at 6 p.m. At Pedrati's.
Go figure.
Love to see you there.
Bring rain.
And absolutely, feel free, just like last year. Yeah.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Feel free. That's it, Ms. Chum.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so if any of y'all have a particular convocation that you would like to speak at too, if you'll just mark that on your sheet as well. All right, so the Board of Trustees on July 24th, beginning at 8:50. Beginning at 8:50, we'll convene in closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. All right, we're back on. So the Board of Trustees on July 24th, beginning at 9:20 p.m., will convene an open meeting. Are there any motions to come before the board? Mr. Lopez.
Yes, I'd like to move for the following resolution to be adopted by the board. Resolved.
Your mic's not on. There we go.
Sorry about that. Yes, I move for the resolution, for the following resolution to be adopted by the board. Resolved that the district hereby approves, confirms, ratifies, and adopts a certain mediation settlement agreement date June 25th, 2018, tentatively agreed to by the parties but subject to the approval of this board. Such mediated settlement agreements having been discussed during executive session and providing for the settlement of the lawsuit styled NISD versus MAC Hidden Meadows LLC being cause number 2018 CI 06800 pending in the District Court in Bexar County, Texas. And that the superintendent is hereby authorized and directed to take and all actions, including the execution of any and all documents which he is the sole discretion deems necessary or desirable to consummate such settlement, and that the superintendent execute and file on behalf of the district an amend plan to correct the plat of the district central administrative office on Evers Road filed of record in Bexar County, Texas in February of 1996 by deleting the reference to the easement which was subject of such lawsuit.
All right, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution in relation to litigation NISD versus MAC Hidden Meadows. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Linda, let me just clarify that. It's the resolution to be adopted, approving the mediated settlement agreement NISD versus MAC Hidden Meadows LLC. All right, is there any other business come for the board?
Ms. Chumley?
Ms. Freeman?
I motion to approve the administrative recommendations as discussed in executive session.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the administrative recommendations as discussed in closed session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries. Is there any other first business come before the board? Seeing none, the board is adjourned at 9:25.